Run. I get that cash and I flip it, yeah. I get that cash and I flip it, yeah.
Okay, y'all, so just another video kind of more so on the serious side because I have been, and I'm sure as everybody has been, watching and keeping up with this R. Kelly documentary. And I'm more so, I want to talk about the documentary as well, but I also want to talk about just dealing with friends in abusive situations because I have done so multiple times. And it's honestly, it's never easy. Like, it's never easy because you feel like, as a friend to somebody who is in an abusive situation, you feel really helpless. Like, you feel really helpless. Nothing you say seems to trump whatever their manipulative partner is saying. Nothing you say seems to go through the way that nothing you say seems to break the hold of that person who already has them wrapped around their finger. It's like nothing you say tends to break that. So I want to talk about that because there's a lot of stuff that they said in the documentary that, because I have been through multiple situations with friends in abusive situations, with just seeing it multiple times, and then even being in emotionally abusive situations myself, um, it was triggering, y'all. Like, when I say triggering, like, triggered with a T was me watching that documentary. Like, I was upset, I was mad, I had to take breaks when I was watching it. I cried hard when I was watching it. Like, I was just like, it just brought up so many emotions, and this is something that is really close to home for me. So I do want to make a video about the documentary, and then also just dealing with friends who are in abusive situations. So documentary wise, and before I even get into all this, before I even get started with all this, if you are new to my channel, please subscribe to my channel and please turn on my notifications because I kind of post sporadically. And at the end of this video, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And on to this documentary. So since watching the documentary, I have been seeing just the most ugh, just ill posts on my, like, Facebook, or on, not really on Twitter. On Twitter, the most of the stuff I've been seeing has been like people in support of the victims or in support of the survivors and stuff like that. On Facebook, though, I've had to unfriend people because I'm not, anybody who knows me knows, when it comes to certain things, I am very passionate about those things, and you will get blocked. And that's also with a T. You will get blocked because just some stuff is just, people be saying ignorant shit, like saying, "Oh, I'm still going." What have they been saying? They talking about, "Oh, I'm still gonna be stepping to R. Kelly at the cookout." Bitch, well, you won't be at my cookout because I'm not gonna be playing none of that shit. Fuck all that. So people saying stuff like that, or then I even saw on Facebook where somebody was like, "Oh, well, aren't the girls to blame too? Like, it's not just him. Like, it goes both ways. Aren't the girls to blame too?" And I'm like, I had to take a breath, y'all. I had to take a breath because I was like, bruh, you're really trying to say that a 13, 14-year-old girl is to blame for a grown ass 28-year-old, 30-year-old man taking advantage of them and raping them? Because that's what it is. This is not, yeah, okay, it was consensual sex, but it's like it's coercive, like, however y'all know what I mean. It's you're persuading them to have sex with you. You're a lot older than them. They're at a very impressionable age. That's the age where it's just very easy to manipulate. Even the ones that are ahead of their time, it's just very easy to manipulate the hell out of a 13 or 14-year-old girl. And as a 28-year-old, 30-year-old man, you shouldn't even have the desire to come on to a 13, 14-year-old girl or mess with them or look at them any type of sexually or any of that. Like, it's disgusting. Like, it's disgusting. So for somebody to say, "Oh, well, aren't they at fault too? Why would they want to hang out with a grown-ass man? Why would they want to hang out with this or that?" they shouldn't even want to hang out with no grown-ass man. My kids I'm gonna teach my kids better than that. Like at 13 or 14, you know right from wrong. At 13 or 14, you know right from wrong, but again, you are at a very impressionable age. So if somebody is persuading you to feel like what they're doing to you is not wrong, then even if you know right from wrong, you're more likely to fall for that. You're very much so more likely to fall for it. And just to kind of like read those comments, I was just like, oh hell no. Like I literally was reading the comments like, you got me fucked up. Like you're definitely getting the fuck blocked. Because if that's the case, like I don't know, I just can't look at it and be like, oh, like aren't they to blame too? Like that's like, I cannot stand victim shaming. Like I just don't like that. Like for people to say, oh well, in the case of rape victims, like where they say stuff like, oh well, she shouldn't have been wearing that skirt, or she should have had on this, or maybe if she wasn't at that party, she should have been in church. Girl the fuck bye. Girl the fuck bye, and boy the fuck bye, all y'all. And that kind of pissed me off. And then also I think another thing that I've been definitely wanting to shine light on is the fact that, and I'm not the first person by any means to say this, I have seen this on Twitter, I have seen this in you know, just comments over social media and stuff, and people had a very good point. And people's point was being that one of the things I saw, I wish I could actually find it again, but somebody was talking about the fact that the black community is so focused on, oh, who's gay, and you know, homosexuality is destroying the black community and black homes and this, that, and the third. But black people love to not fucking talk about the fact that maybe your pedophile uncle is destroying the black home. Maybe the Pastor Jones who like to touch up on everybody is destroying the black home. But y'all don't, who want to touch up on your daughter at 13, 12 years old, maybe that's destroying the black home. Y'all still worried about people's sexual orientation, but then be the same ones to still bring your kids around the family member that your kid has told you multiple times makes them uncomfortable. But y'all don't want to talk about that because then that's embarrassing. You don't want your family, you don't want people to look at your family that way. So, oh, Latisse, just, you know, your uncle's going to be there, but just, you know, just don't say anything. Just be cordial, be nice. After Latisse has told you the uncle been touching on her. But y'all don't want to talk about that. Y'all don't be wanting to address none of that shit. But be the first ones to pop up on somebody talking about some, oh, you're gay, you need to read a Bible, and, you know, you're a sinner, you're going to hell. Okay, uncle going to hell too. He's a pedophile, if that's the case. But, yeah, that's just, it kills me that, like, when it comes to the black community, I feel like sometimes we just focus on all the wrong shit. People's sexual orientation, who cares? Who cares? Who gives a fuck? Okay? Like, no, nobody cares. That's not destroying the black community, girl. Get the fuck on. And if that's like, I don't know, like people are so focused on that. But then when it comes to like, I've had multiple people that I've had conversations with, all females that have experienced somebody touching up on them as a kid. And oftentimes it was a family member, and people just don't want to, they want to put that under the rug because that's embarrassing. Y'all don't want to talk about that. But let it be somebody who gay, and that family member, you haven't talked to that family member for 10 years because they're gay. But this family member that's been touching on your child, you still bring the child around that family member and force them to be cordial. So that really killed me. And so when I was watching the documentary, it was just things like that stood out to me. But then also, like I said again, outside of the documentary, it's been things that people have been saying that have stood out to me, where people are kind of like just saying stuff that I'm like, bruh, you can't be fucking serious. Or I've even heard stuff where people were like, oh, well, I feel like these girls are lying because why they wait all this time to say something? They just want money. These girls are lying. And it's like, it's stuff like that that is the reason for why victims take so long to speak out. Okay, like that's my biggest issue with the comments I've been seeing, is people saying, oh, these bitches want money, these bitches are lying, why'd they wait this long? If it was really the truth, then they wouldn't have waited this long. Some people take, for example, rape victims, people who have been in, you know, domestic violence situations, some people take that to the grave with them. And they take it to the grave with them because of this. Because so many people say, oh, you're a liar. Well, you shouldn't have done this. Blaming the victim, tell them they're lying, basically not wanting to talk to them or shaming them or just making them feel like making them feel so bad that they want to kill themselves, they want to disappear, they don't want to speak up, or they feel guilty for what happened, or they don't want to speak up because the person who did whatever was done to them, that person is in a position of status to where the rest of the community won't believe them over their abuser. Like I listed before, people tell them they're lying, they shame them, they talk badly about them, they make it feel like it's their fault. So there's a lot of reasons why victims do not speak up. Like, you can't tell somebody, oh, well, you waited 15 years, so you're lying. No, people tell things on their own time. People tell things when they're ready. When things happen to people, people have to go through their own process, and everybody's process is different. So just because your process is, well, I would have said something the next day, does not mean that this person over here was ready to say something the next day. So you can't say, oh, you're lying because you didn't say something in 24 hours. You didn't say anything in 48 hours. If you was really mad, you would have said something then. No. If you're scared and you don't feel like anybody's going to believe you and you feel like you're in a corner, you're probably not going to say anything right then. And then the further you go along, that might, there are real effects to carrying that type of shit around. So eventually you might come to the point where you're like, yo, I really do need to speak about this. I need this off me. I need this to be off me. So I just really can't respect people that are saying like, oh, they're lying because they waited so long. Why come out and say something now? And then as for the people that are like, oh, well, this is not any new information. Why y'all trying to act like Lifetime gave us something new? They didn't give us anything new. Blah, 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 blah. Because I've been seeing those comments too. This might not be new information, but I don't think any of us have ever heard it this far in depth. And then not only this far in depth, but then from all the women themselves this far in depth, all in together in one. This is the first time we've heard all their stories together in one documentary where everybody, where everybody can just say their piece, say what happened to them. And everybody who tuned in, there's a lot of people who tuned in, me included, that didn't know all this stuff. So for y'all to be like, oh, well, we been knew this, if y'all been knew this, why have y'all not been supporting Mute R. Kelly then? Miss I been knew this. If y'all been knew this, why y'all still playing his music? Miss I been knew this, Mr. I been knew this. This not new information. Why y'all acting like this is new? Why do y'all even care? If that's the case, why are you still supporting a whole ass pedophile? Since you been knew all this. Because that's my thing. Like, a lot of us, I don't think a lot of people knew it to this degree, to this extent, this far in depth, or knew like what the parents are going through, what the girls are going through. I heard about the sex cult last year. When I heard about the sex cult at first, I had no idea that it was underage girls being recruited from the time they was 14, 16, all this other mess. When I heard about the sex tape back when, I was kind of like, I can't remember what grade I was in when I heard about the sex tape. I know I was young enough to where we were so young that hearing, oh, somebody peed on somebody was like, oh, haha, that's funny. It's a joke. Like, oh my God, ew. Like, we were young enough to where it was like, we didn't understand the severity of somebody peeing on an underage child. And I was young enough to the point where I didn't even know the girl was underage. I just heard he peed on some girl. And I was like, oh my God, ew, he peed on her. Like, ew. Like, because I was young and fucking stupid and naive. Okay, so me now getting this information again when I'm older and can be more receptive to the information that I'm getting, my reaction is completely different. And again, I didn't know everything that was going on. So for people to try and speak for the masses and be like, oh, y'all been knew this, and this ain't nothing new, and who cares? I'm just like, really? Like, y'all are really that insensitive to where just like, who cares? If it was your sister or your mama or your cousin or somebody close to you, you would give a fuck. So that really, things like that were irritating me. So more so, not even like more so stuff to do with the documentary, but more so stuff to do with the commentary surrounding the documentary from other people has been irritating me. And then also a big part of this documentary that really hit home for me and was why I was like having trouble really watching this without being so mad. Like, I was so mad watching this, was because when they were talking about the cycle of abuse and how he isolated his victims and got into their head and made them feel like he was the only one who was going to care about them, he was the only one who was going to love them, he was the only one who they were ever going to be able to form a relationship with or be with or anything like that. It pissed me off because, again, my main purpose of this video is more so, and I can't say how, like, I can't say to give advice on how to deal with a friend in an abusive relationship, because I still don't know. I really don't, because like I said, I have lost multiple friends to the cycle of abuse. Our friendship did not make it because the person abusing them, the person manipulating them, once that person identifies you as a threat to the hold that they have on their victim, oh, you got to go. You gotta go. Once they identify you as a threat to their power that they have over that person, once they identify you as a resource to that person, you gotta go. You gotta go. They're not having that. They're not having that. They can't have you in that person's ear talking about, oh, you don't need to put up with this. You can leave them. You can come stay with me. You can do this. You don't have to deal with this. They don't want to hear none of that. They don't want that victim hearing none of that. So because they don't want them hearing none of that, they got to find a way to get you out the picture. They got to find a way to make that person feel like, oh, I can't trust her. I can't, I can't be around her. She not good for me. This person is this or this person is that. They have to try and put stuff in that person's head about you to make that person want to further themselves from you, because you are a threat to the power that they have over that person. And so hearing about the cycle of abuse during the documentary was so triggering, because it was like reliving all the times that I have watched a friend or family member go through that cycle. And it hurts. Like, honestly, it hurts, y'all. Breaking up with somebody hurts. But losing a friend, bruh, and losing a friend in that manner, I cannot explain to y'all the pain. Like, that, it hurts. It hurts a lot. And watching somebody, especially somebody close to you, a friend, watching the way that they change for that person, watching the way their whole mentality is just like, they're no longer them. They're no longer themselves anymore. And I don't know, it's like when it happens, you have, like, as the person, like, as a loved one who's not in that situation but who wants to help that person, you feel so helpless. It's like you have no control over the situation. It's like you want so badly for them to leave. You want so badly for them to get out of it. And for some reason, nothing you say will click for them. Nothing you say will click for them, because the only thing that they are going to listen to, or the only thing they're going to listen to, the only thing that matters to them is what their abuser is saying. And because the only thing that matters is what their abuser is saying, they are willing to make excuses for that person. If it's between that person and you, you're going, not that person. They're cutting you off. And they'll make excuses for that person. They'll hide the things that person is doing, partly because when somebody is going through these type of things, they are embarrassed. And I'm not talking about anybody in specific. I'm talking about, again, I have been through this multiple times with multiple friends. So just watching the cycle, and just watching what that does to somebody is a crazy feeling. It's a crazy thing. And again, I'm saying this isn't an advice video because I still don't know how to deal with it. At the time, I felt like being a good friend to that person was being as honest as I could be. To each time that's happened, I felt like being a good friend was being as honest as I could be with them. But it didn't work. And I feel like it didn't work because when that person is in defense mode, you telling them, like, you saying, hey, you need to get out of this. You don't need to be dealing with this. You don't need to take this. This is what you need to do. You need to do this, this, and that so you can get out of here. Here are the resources for you to get out. It's almost like they build up this wall, and you telling them what they already know pisses them off even more. So because they don't want to hear what they already know, it's easier to push you away because they don't want to hear that information. They don't want to hear, oh, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, because they already know. They already know. And so I think for me, again, I just don't know how to be like, I don't know exactly how you deal with somebody in that situation, because I can sit there and try and be the best friend to you that I can be, but if that person already has a hold on a grip on your whole mentality, then there's only so much that I can do. There's only so much that I can do. And so me being the best friend that I can be, and me being like, hey, let's figure out how to get you out of this. If that person is not ready to get out of that, then they're going to push you away because you're trying to, it's like you're putting them in an uncomfortable situation. How do I explain it? It's like you're trying to pull them out of a situation they're not ready to be pulled out of. And because you're trying to force them out of that situation, they get further and further from you, and they don't want to really deal with you so much because they're not ready to be pulled out. And that's kind of like the best way I could put it. So when I was watching the documentary and they were talking about how the cycle of abuse starts, and that person will kind of do one little thing and see if you'll go along with that, and if you go along with that, they'll do another thing, and if you go along with that, then it's like, okay, let me see how far I can take them, until the point where you can't find your way back because they done led you astray so damn far. And that part was triggering. And then another part that I kind of stuck with me is that when the lady was saying, she was like, the average abuse victim, or the average domestic violence victim and stuff like that, it takes them 7 to 10 times to leave for good. And again, I think that's why when I've been going through friendships with people like that, I think it's hard as somebody who's not going through it. Sometimes it's hard not to get frustrated with that person for going back, because they deserve better. They know they deserve better. That somewhere deep down inside they want better, and it pisses you off so bad every time they put themselves back in that situation. But then at the same time, when I was watching the documentary, I had to really understand that that's not really them making that decision. It's this person that their abuser has created that is making the decision, and the real person, your real friend, has gotten so far from themselves that your friend is not really making the decisions for themselves. It's the pawn that their abuser has created that's making all the decisions at this point. And so it's definitely tough. Like, it's tough as the person on the outside looking in not to be frustrated with that person. And I don't know, like it's a really hard dynamic to explain, because when people go through abusive situations, I think everybody focuses on the victim, as they should, but people also forget that the people around them go through shit too. The people around them feel the effects of that shit too. Every time you look at that person and it's just like, damn, like, I really wish I could get you out of this, but I need you to want to get yourself out of this. And because you're not ready yet, there's nothing I can do for you. And it's frustrating. And it almost makes you, like, to a point, I'm not even gonna lie, to a point, it almost makes you resent them for not being stronger. But then at the same time, who are you to judge? Like, who are you to judge at all? So the best friend you can really be to that person is to be a judgment-free zone. But even being a judgment-free zone, is like, how far do you go with it? Like, how far do you, and I don't mean like how far do you go, not judging them is the easy part, but how far do you go with just, how many times do you listen to their stories and stuff and just, tell them, hey, like, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, you need to do that, let's get you out of this, and then they go back. It's like, how many times can you do it? And so I think that's another reason why a lot of the people in these situations, they isolate, the abuser is isolating them for one already, but they also isolate themselves because they feel like, I don't want to speak about this because I feel bad for going back after I've told you this, or I feel ashamed for going back after I told you this information. And as the friend, a part of you is like, don't feel bad. Like, you can always tell me, like, you can always vent to me, you can always tell me what's going on. I'm never going to judge you. That's like 50%. And the other 50% is so mad at their abuser, and then also just so sometimes even so mad at them for not wanting to get out of it yet. And so it's hard to, like, I don't know, it's a hard dynamic to explain. It's a hard dynamic to understand. And really, I'm really just making this video because maybe you all have advice on how to deal with friends that are, you know, in domestic violence situations, abusive situations, emotionally abusive situations, anything. Maybe you all have experienced this and you all have advice, but I'm more so saying that, you know, I've experienced friendships lost because of abuse and the cycle of abuse, and they get so wrapped up in the cycle of abuse that it is hard for them to find their way back, and it's hard for them to not push everybody away because those people are seen as threatening to their abuser, and their abuser makes them want to push all those people away because they can't have that. And so yeah, that documentary just really, like, y'all, that documentary hit home, y'all. When they were talking about just like all the things he was doing to the girls and just how he would make them, you know, how he would kind of inch his way along until he had full control. And then once he had full control, it was just like anything goes. I control you, and now you gotta ask me when you need to use the bathroom. You gotta ask me when you want to eat. You know, these girls are scared to get hit. They're scared for people to come for their parents. It's tough. It was definitely very tough to watch, but it's been even more tough to just see these negative, nasty, ignorant ass comments and know that you can't, like, you can't change the views of everybody around you. You can really only speak for yourself. So it's like, to a certain extent, it's like part of me be wanting to argue back and forth with people online, like, y'all sound dumb as fuck. But then the other part of me is like, girl, save your energy, because, you know, sometimes ignorance is bliss, and people don't want to change their thinking. They don't want to, they don't want to do any of that, because then they would have to hold themselves accountable for the way they've been thinking so far. And people don't want to do that. That's uncomfortable. They don't want to do that. So yeah, watching the documentary is interesting. Seeing the comments has been very interesting. I'm not going to go into like super detailed about the documentary, just because I feel like there's been enough people doing that on YouTube to where y'all have a plethora of people you can watch that will dissect the whole thing for you. You don't need me to do so. I just wanted to use this as an opportunity to kind of speak on what it's like to know somebody going through that type of thing. Even like not to that extent, but just to any extent, like just to know somebody going through domestic violence, period. It's tough. It's very tough, and it's frustrating for both parties. And I just hope that if you all have friends that are going through anything, I hope that they find the strength to get out. I hope that they find, I hope they heal, honestly. I hope they heal in whatever way that they need to heal. I really do. If you all have experienced that, or like know anybody who's going through it, just leave a comment. I would love to, you know, hear you guys' advice or anything like that. If you all like this video, please leave a thumbs up, please comment, and please subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video.